talk to him first, and then I'll start at the hard-hitting questions.
You want me to talk first?
Yeah, just kind of.
He left off a couple of boards that I serve on, and some of those are old, but, you know.
Go after those.
But I currently serve on the Welcome Chatham Board, which runs the Welcome Center in downtown Pittsboro for all of Chatham County. I'm also on the Chapel Hill Carborough Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. And I'm no longer on the EDC board currently. Been off of that for about 2 years now. Yeah, you're only allowed to serve 8 years at a time. And I'm on the events committee for Pittsboro Business Association. That brings you Summerfest and the tree lighting in downtown Pittsboro and First Sundays. So, just a few.
Is that all?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm going to get to that question first. We're going to talk about any sort of substances that you're currently taking to stay above water and all this stuff. Are we in close proximity? Should we get closer or further apart, or are we good?
As long as our microphones don't squeal, we're good.
Yeah. Last night, Greg's like, Dustin, I need the questions for tomorrow. And I was like, I'm building a fence, man. I'm out outside. So I used ChatGPT, and it came up with some really good questions, and then he shot me back, pretty good. Did you use AI? And I was like, no. So here they go. First question.
And then I barely read the questions.
You barely read
I wanted them, but I hardly read them. If you didn't send them till 9 o'clock.
I texted him, I think it was 10:30.
10:30.
Okay. Ready? Here we go. You've been an entrepreneur for decades. What was your first business, and what did it teach you about risk and resilience?
So, when we moved to North Carolina in 2000, I'd always been a chef prior to that. And our family had slowly moved here. My wife's sister went to ECU, met a guy from Durham, got married, started a family, and everybody slowly moved down here. And then as a way to bribe us and get us down here, they said, ooh, there's this restaurant for sale. We'll help you get started financially, if you come down here. So we did, they did. And in 2000, we opened a restaurant. We bought a restaurant called Brothers Pizza in Cary. There you go. Jason used to come into that restaurant when he was, very small. I've known the D'Amicos a long time. But, we bought that in 2000, and we were doing well. The restaurant business in Cary at that time was very difficult because Cary was growing very rapidly, much like Pittsboro is now. And a lot of chains were moving in, and a lot of people with deep pockets were moving in, and it made it difficult for small restaurants. And then somewhere, what year did the market tank?
2008.
2008. And back then, we barely had internet, we barely had email, there was no social media, things like that. So we were advertising in the yellow pages, those that remember that, and faxing the things to people. Well, when the economy tanked, instead of, curling up and holding on to everything, we personally took a pay cut and doubled down on our investment, our advertising rather, and advertised more and more and more while all the other small businesses were not. And that proved to be the best thing we could have ever done, because since then our business has grown 25% a year over and over and over. And it's still true. When 9/11 happened, we did the same thing. We did more marketing. When the economy tanked, we just did more marketing so new people would find us constantly. And we continued to grow.
That's incredible. A number you told me that's shocking. So, for those of you who don't know, Chatham's kind of, I don't want to call it a problem, but it's a situation, is that our tax base is heavily dependent upon property tax, right? I think it's like in the 90s, I don't know the exact number, but it's heavy burden on property, personal property tax, low commercial tax base, right? That's a lot to do. What is it?
It's
90. And so there's efforts to try to get that tax base more in balance, right? And that's really about employment strategies and business development growth. And Greg, tell people how many people you have employed right now.
W-2 employees, I have 40, and 1099 employees, I have probably 60.
Think about that, 100 jobs created. by Greg's businesses. I think that's really, really impressive. And the power of small business. And I don't like, the word small business implies small thinking, but clearly that's not the case here. Okay, next question, Chad.
Small is a relative term.
Small.
Small to who and large
Right.
to who. It's large enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been here for a while. How long have you been in Chatham?
We moved to North Carolina in 2000. We found Chatham County in 07 and moved here. And we're not leaving.
How has the landscape changed since you've been in Chatham?
First, I'll say moving to Chatham County is probably the best decision we made. Chatham County schools are phenomenal, second to none. We pulled our kids out of Wake County schools, came to Chatham and never looked back. What I'll say is when we came here, there was I was driving back and forth to Cary every day to run my then catering business, and it was coming home was a breath of fresh air when I hit the lake. It was just like driving in your driveway, because I had another 20 minutes to go after I hit the lake, but it was just like I'm out of that rat race. I know it's just Cary, but it's big, it's developed, it's commercial, and so when we came here, none of that was here. Chatham Park wasn't started, Mosaic wasn't here. And in 2011, we bought the General Store Cafe out of bankruptcy and started the Pittsboro Roadhouse. When we did that, because we weren't involved in anything, because we were driving to Cary every day, we had no idea Chatham Park was coming. None, zero zip zilch. And so we did that, and then found out about Chatham Park, and then found it made us think, well, this happened to us in Cary, because downtown Cary, everything built around downtown Cary, and downtown Cary really suffered for a number of years. And so that's when my wife Maria and I really got involved and said, we need to help protect downtown Pittsboro. That's when we said downtown Pittsboro needs to survive. Downtown Pittsboro needs to thrive in the face of Chatham Park. And lo and behold, Chatham Park had the same vision. You know, once Maria and I sat down with them, they felt the same way, and they doubled down on that, and they wanted Pittsboro to survive, because Pittsboro is a jewel, and downtown Pittsboro is vital to Chatham Park and Mosaic, and it's vital to all of us, and it's vital to small businesses. But there are so many small businesses in downtown Pittsboro that you can support. You know, you think going on Amazon is quick and it's easy, but it's not helping your neighbor. You know, it's not, yeah, you might pay $10 more for a pair of shoes or $5 more for a puzzle from Pittsboro Toys, but you're helping local people, local kids, getting their sports equipment or whatever. I mean, I can't say enough about shopping local. I forget what you even asked.
No, it's great. It was great.
How does the environment change? Well, now we've got large commercial businesses in Pittsboro and Chatham County, and Lord knows we got a lot more coming. Well, how does that help? It helps if you are involved and you know what's coming. You know, I don't have a lot of money, my wife and I don't have a lot of money, so we can't be involved in everything, we can't invest in everything, we can't sit at the table of everything because of our pockets. But by volunteering and being involved and sitting on boards and sitting on organizations, we got to meet people and we got involved and we got to learn about what was coming and began to work with, you know, Chatham Park, Mosaic, Tim, Bubba, Vanessa, Kirk, Bradley, all of them. They're great folks. And working with them, we learned how we could succeed with what was coming and how we could be part of what was coming and how we could be involved in all of that.
So you're kind of in like 2.0, you know, of your. Do you want to talk about your move and your decision to come to Mosaic and what that business model is going to look like and kind of a timeline for when the restaurant's going to open up?
So we're opening a restaurant right at the bottom of these steps here in that empty space. It's going to be called Tavolo. It means at the table. It'll be an Italian restaurant, but it'll be a true Italian. It'll brick oven pizzas, house-made pasta every day. We're not going to be getting meatballs. We're not going to have manicotti or big ziti. It's going to be true Italian. Everything made to order. You know, with a wood oven, we'll bake entrees in there. Construction, we're still working with the engineer. It's been a challenge of a space to try and get it to flow right. The HVAC units, having to move them, put them where they need to be so that we're not building walls around them, making it look right, but also trying to stay within a reasonable amount of money. Trying to stay within a budget. Building a restaurant, most people say $300 a square foot. Well, we're trying to do it for $200 a square foot or less. How do you do that? You plan.
Right. So you, for those of you who might not know, talk about your other. So 39 West is your main catering arm.
So we have 39 West Catering. With 39 West Catering, we do corporate catering all over the triangle, up to an hour away. Pinehurst to Raleigh to Wake Forest, Chapel Hill, all the towns in the area. Sanford all the time. And that's corporate Monday through Friday. That's our bread and butter. Then on weekends we do weddings. We'll do up to 4 weddings in one day. So we'll do 4 weddings on a Saturday. Last week we had 4 weddings and a funeral. Jason, you already did me. But we'll do anything for anybody. We have set menus on our website, but we're not limited to those. We'll create anything that you want. We just need to know what you want. If you have a certain budget you want to be within and you don't see it on our website, give us a call. We'll see what we can do to work with you and help you with that. We don't have to do everything at your event. We can just be a piece of your event, or we can do everything, as much or as little as you want.
Can I share a story about that? Sure. I don't want to put you in the hole for the expectation of this, but again, procrastinator. It got to my wife's birthday, and I was like, oh no. And I called Greg, and I was like, Greg, I'm up in creek right now. And Greg sent a staff member out to the house, brought the food in, started the ovens, did the whole thing, and I look like a hero, you know. And I don't think I admitted to Katie at this point that was not planned at all. So I'm sorry, but it wasn't planned. And Greg saved the day, so that's just a nod. And there's so many stories I have with that.
Well, I got to tell you, there's one better than that. And when I'm catering by design, and Carrie, this woman walked in one day and said, "I'd like to plan my son's wedding." Great. If I sit down with her, we start talking about what she wants. I mean, she just can't get it out of her mouth fast enough before I even start asking her questions. So I get all this information down: rentals, flowers, music. We don't just do food; it's whatever you want. And I said, "Now, when is the wedding?" "Oh, it's tonight." So we made it happen. We got her everything she wanted. We made it happen for her. It happened at the hotel across the covered bridge behind McGregor. I forget the name of the hotel. It's still there, but yeah, same day wedding. We can do it.
Okay. So
I mean, no, she was from England, so whether it's done differently.
It was a time zone.
I guess I don't know. But, all right, so
language barrier.
Time zone. But so besides the caterer, we also have a restaurant called the Sycamore. We feature high-end steaks. All our steaks are certified prime. They come from one ranch, Creekstone Farms in Arkansas, Kansas. And if anybody, people say, well, why are your steaks so expensive? I say, just come try it. Just come try one of our steaks. You'll understand. It's the best steak on the market. And, our food cost on a steak is about 50%. Food costs on your items should be 25 to 30%. So we're not marking them up as much as we could or should, but they are well worth the investment, I promise you. Come try our steaks. Our seafood is fresh. What we do at the Sycamore is phenomenal. The atmosphere, the staff. I'm blessed with amazing staff in all of our businesses. I can't do it without them.
How do you do it?
I forgot we have Forest Hall too. We have a wedding venue at Chatham Mills too.
Yeah, the wedding venue. So a little quick story. So when Greg and I knew each other for a little bit, and when Katie and I took this space over, I said, Greg, I think we should work together, and I don't want to compete with you in your space. I think that they're completely different spaces. And immediately he was like, yeah, you're right. Let's figure out a way to, you hand me business, I hand you business, and so that's been a really, really great partnership. I do want to ask a serious question, not restaurant related, but for everybody in here who's thinking about starting a business or runs a business, talk about your attitude, because I think that there's one of the common themes. If you've been to some of these Breakfast Club events, you talk to people and they kind of give you their insight into their mode of operation. You know, what is your? Do you have like a mantra? What's your mantra? What do you live by?
Well, I always tell our children, and what I tell people is just do the next right thing. Whatever that happens to be, I don't know what it's going to be when I walk out this door. I don't know what it's going to be tomorrow. Tonight. Just do the next right thing. Make the next right decision with the best information you have. It may a week from now, you might say, oh, that was not a smart decision, but you didn't know that at the time. So if you just always do the next right thing, have whoever's in front of you in mind, you know, when you're doing that, then you really can't go wrong.
Talk about, you seem to be immune to most traditional sort of like fight or flight when it comes to business decisions. Specifically, when things are bad, you kind of don't retreat. And that's hard for most businesses. When times get tough, things get lean, people get backed into a corner, they tend to kind of make a decision that kind of continues the problem. So talk about where do you think that you get that ability to kind of get up on the saddle and keep going?
I have bills to pay. Had to raise 3 daughters. You know, I don't know. I don't know anything else. Well, all I know is cooking, a trained chef, and running restaurants and food service. But that's all I know. So what else am I going to do? If I go work for somebody else, I'll get a paycheck. If I do it myself, you know, I just keep plugging ahead. I mean, you've just got to find a way. You know, find new business, find new things. When we go out in our slow time, you know, if we're catering at UNC and it's slow, I'll send one of our salespeople to go up to UNC to deliver the lunch and maybe take cookies to other people, our customers. You know, we're always trying to grow our business.
No, that's great. So I want to leave room for some Q&A, but I do have one question. I've had a lot of discussions with several other business owners, and I got some great advice. You know, because Jenna, can I shed some light on you? So Jenna was kind of, Kay and I, we took this business on, and we didn't really think about managing an employee. So this was a new experience for us. And when you manage an employee, it's kind of like, you know, it's a new situation. And part of growing a business is being able to sort of make that decision and say, hey, we're going to hire somebody else. We're going to delegate some work. And I talked with another restaurant owner who said, and this is not to you, but she said, expect failure from the employees. Don't expect perfection. Give room for people to grow and for you to grow in that leadership role. You've got 100 employees. How do you do that?
Well, what I tell my management is, I don't think he said you failed there, right?
No.
Okay, no. It clears me for when I eventually have a mistake, okay? You told me to.
She's operating at 120%, by the way.
So, well, I think what's always important to know is that not everyone wants to be a leader. Not everyone wants to be promoted. Not everyone wants to move up. Some people are just happy with their jobs. Some people, you know, you got to meet them where they are. And to me, that's a really difficult lesson to teach some of my managers, because they'll shake their head and say, you know, this person doesn't take charge, or they don't want to, you know? And maybe it's not a matter of they don't know how or they don't want to learn, they don't want to. I have a woman that's been working for me for 14 years, which is the pre-opening of the Roadhouse. All right, we opened that in 2011. She was a pre-opening training, and I actually have 2 of them. They're both in their same role that they were hired as. They don't want to move up. One's a dishwasher, pop washer. She doesn't want to do more. She could cook. She could do a great job. She doesn't want to. And then the other one is one that does all my cold food in my catering kitchen. I've wanted to teach her to be the chef so many times. She doesn't want to. She's happy where she is. And they're wonderful folks. I love these ladies to death, and I count on them every day. But they don't want more than what they have. And so understanding that not everyone wants your job, not everyone wants to do more, I think it's hard for a lot of people to understand and a lot of people to learn. And so meeting them where they are and just doing the next right thing.
Yeah, that's a higher level of, I think, intelligence is understanding where people are in your organization. So I'm going to open up the floor for some questions. I'm going to pass around the mic. If you feel bold enough to not need the mic, let us know. But so let's go for it. First question is back. I'm coming to you.
You need mic? I think I'm all right.
So my question for you is, how do you know when you meet someone whether you want to hire them or not?
I'm sorry. I can't.
Okay. How do you know whether you want to hire someone or not that you're interviewing?
Usually I can tell in the interview, it's not about their experience, it's how their maturity level, they're looking me in the eye, they're saying the right things, they want to learn. You can look at their history, how long have they stayed in jobs. You know, I think that I can do more with someone with zero experience that will show up to work every day with the right attitude than someone that's been cooking for 20 years but can't keep staff around them and has an attitude problem that they're the best in the world, you know. So I look more for attitude than experience.
Next question. Okay, man.
I'm standing here. So first of all, compliment on the red envelopes, and the question is, when
That-
do they come back?
That starts tonight. So red envelopes, we give away at the Sycamore, and we give them away like a month before our slow season starts. So in June, we're giving away red envelopes to everybody that comes in and has dinner, drink, whatever. We'll give you this red envelope, and you take it home. You bring it back in July and August, and Pittsboro is kind of slow, and you have to open it in the dining room. There's a discount in every one, whether it's $15, 15%, no, it's $15, $25, $50, or $100. You know, right. So you don't know what you're going to get, but you're going to get something. And it just keeps, that's right. And we'll give out 1,000 of them in the month of June. And we will get 400 to 500 of them back in July and August. It's great marketing. Believe it or not, we learned that one year, many years ago, we went to Maggiano's for dinner. And they passed them out in December because January and February are slow. And we thought, what a genius idea. They don't do it anymore. I guess they don't need it, but you know, we give them out in December and we give them out in June.
Next question. Come on. There you go.
The fact that you're an amazing business leader, can you hear me?
I can now.
Is the fact how philanthropic you are. And could you explain to everyone what you used to do at the Roadhouse for people that were shut in? And when you opened the Sycamore during COVID, how you helped small businesses contribute when nobody was working? What your thoughts?
So I think what you're asking about is our Meals on Wheels on Sundays. So for those that don't know, Meals on Wheels is a program in the county, and they deliver a hot meal to the seniors that are shut in Monday through Friday. Nothing on weekends. Right now they do have a frozen food program that they can sign up for and give them that. What we did was we started a program on Sundays where we would make them a cold lunch. We give them sandwich, fruit, cookies, chips, whatever. And we would package 75 lunches every Sunday. And we had routes. We would get the names from the Council on Aging of those that wanted it. And then we had volunteers come in and take a route and deliver food to these elderly shut-ins. The idea is not just about getting a sandwich and a cup of fruit and a cookie. The idea is somebody's coming to visit you on a Sunday when maybe nobody else is. Some of these folks don't have family nearby. Maybe they have family that doesn't come to see them. Excuse me. And so we did this for many, many, many years. Sorry. It's 10 days I've been fighting this, getting over this cold. And so when COVID hit, we had to stop doing that. They did not want us delivering meals to these elderly shut-ins. The families all said, no, we don't want anyone going there and giving them COVID. It's right on top of the microphone. And so, thank you very much. Well, if you get this cold, have everybody pray for you. Seriously, it's been in my chest now for 10 days. But when COVID hit, since we couldn't do that anymore, we heard of a need in the schools. And so the schools provide a free hot lunch for kids that don't get that at home or can't afford to buy lunch at school or for any number of reasons. Well, when they were at home, they had ways to get food through court and whatever, but the teachers were losing touch with any of these children. And so they were not able to work with these kids. Some of them, barely understood English. Some of them were born and raised here. But the issue was the teachers needed a way to get to these kids and talk to them. So they asked us to prepare meals. So we prepared family meals that the teachers would deliver to the families, and they would get to go in and see their student and help them. Whether it was give them a hotspot for 30 minutes so they could work because they didn't have internet at home, or whether it was checking up on their homework assignment, whatever it was, help the kids needed. It was just a vehicle, a way to get there to help them. Now, during COVID, many organizations contributed to help us do that. They gave us, a lot of people contributed money to help us keep that going, which we could not have done without that support. We had no business at that time.
We got time for one more question. That's all hand up forward.
Being as busy as you are, what have you sacrificed? And do you feel like you've sacrificed anything?
Well, obviously, I've sacrificed family time. All right. My wife is almost as involved as me, if not more. We've been blessed that she's been able to stay at home with the children. I mean, they're all grown and raised now, but I guess mostly it was vacations, and it was evenings off or mornings off when I had to go to meetings. But at the end of the day, we spent a lot of time with our kids to the point where our children would say, do we have to have dinner together as a family? I mean, there's things that you sacrifice when you do anything in life, whether it's you work 60 hours a week or you work 40 hours a week and then you're involved 20 hours a week, whatever it is you do, or you work 60 hours and you're involved 20 hours. But you're giving up things. What is it? Well, I didn't exercise, and I tried to make it to sporting events for my kids, but I often couldn't. And a lot of that's because of what I do for a living. Being in the restaurant business, working holidays, working nights, working weekends. But I will say, since we started our own business, we are not open holidays. Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas Eve, Thanksgiving, we're not open. We're not going to do it to us. We don't want to work. We don't want our staff to have to work.